Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Library Trustees, meeting of January 14th, 2025. The time is 6:02. I'll invite Jinder to call the roll.
Trustee Cortez,
Here.
Trustee Kyle,
Here.
Trustee Lee,
Here.
Trustee Vedot, Chair Ando.
Here. I'll invite Jinder to explain how the public can participate in this evening's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Ando. This meeting will be held in person and is being recorded and streamed live to Zoom at the link on the agenda. You may participate in person to provide public comment. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. You may also submit your comments by email by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting. We are offering closed captioning for this evening's meeting on Zoom. Select the live transcript button on Zoom to enable this feature.
Thank you, Jinder. The first item on our agenda is the minutes to approve the regular minutes of November 12th, 2024. The recommended action is approved as submitted. I'll call for, I'll invite questions and answers or questions from the trustees to staff. If there are no questions, there is no public as far as I can see here. Jinder, is there anyone online?
No, public comment is only available in person.
Oh, okay, thank you. My first time to do this, so a few things. Then I would request a motion and a second. I was not here at that, so I'm not gonna motion or second this.
Motion to last meeting's minutes. To approve last meeting's minutes? Yeah. I'll second.
Jinder, would you call the roll?
Trustee Cortez,
Aye.
Trustee Kyle,
Aye.
Trustee Lee,
Aye.
Trustee Vedot, Chair Ando.
Aye. The next item is open time for public expression. It does not appear that there is any public participation at this point. So I'm not gonna go through the procedure, if that makes sense. Jinder, does that make sense to you as well?
Yes, we can move on to number 2, agenda item number 2.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, special presentations, staff presentations, student My Card program. Daniel?
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen and just so I'm going to go over just the Student My Card program, which is the branding of it is a little bit more official now. It's called the My Card, in Spanish, Mi Tarjeta program. It's the process that we are following to get library cards into the hands of all of our San Rafael students. This year, there's a collaboration between the San Rafael City Schools and the Marin County Free Library.
It's not County Free Library, not the Republic.
Both. So it's the Marin County Free Library System
Okay.
and the San Rafael Public Library. We're collaborating together for, in this sense, serving the San Rafael City Schools. Marin County Free Library has already, part of the My Card program, has done Nevada Unified School District. And then the presentation will go a little bit over the background of kind of how this program has evolved, what the process is to get cards out to students, a little bit about what our engagement strategy is and how students have access to the resources and what our next steps are. So a little bit of background. The main purpose for doing this and for collaborating with Marin County Free Library is to really expand access, to increase our reach, both in terms of library staff from both jurisdictions, to reach more students, to share resources, and that that our students can access resources through their student card that, for example, San Rafael may not have, Marin County does have, Marin County doesn't have, San Rafael does. And it's just an easier way for students to really visit a library, get similar service, similar access, and they can use it from their classrooms as well. Our current collaboration, as I mentioned, is between these three jurisdictions there. And then we're already falling in line to California Senate Bill 321, which was passed in 2023. And will require students or libraries and school districts to work together to make sure that students have that every student has a library card by 3rd grade. And it goes into effect next year. So we're anticipating that a lot of libraries, a lot of public library systems and school districts will be aligned for that. And of course, there'll be more reporting on how that's going with the state. A little bit of the process. So then in the initial part, there's communication to parents, and most of that information goes through the schools and the teachers, informing them of this collaboration. We do send out an opt-out form. So we create cards for all the students. The first phase of us getting the data is any parent that opts out lets the schools know, and then they just don't send that data to our staff to process. The next part of that is really the MarinNet data upload. So staff at the MarinNet level, working in collaboration with our staff and staff from Marin County, just upload all the data to create those individual records. And this is a little bit different from in the past where it was all manual. So in the past, it was all manual creation of cards. That's a big lift. So now cards are each record is created automatically through data transfer. And then cards are associated to each patron, each student record, and delivered to the schools, to the teacher based on classes. And we do that for students TK through 5th grade. So all of those students get an actual physical library card. We've created info sheets for them with a lot of information geared more towards parents, kind of giving them a little heads up as to what the card means, and then just highlighting some of the resources that are more relative to that age group. Students from 6th grade through 12th automatically receive access to our digital resources. They get a digital card with their library card number that they can automatically access pretty much everything. Right, on their phone. And one thing that's happening different for us this year with San Rafael is that their student ID number can be used as a library card. So there's a prefix SRCS for the school district plus their student ID number that can be used as a library card. So they can go online and use that to access our resources. They can use that when they come to our branches as well. And then a big one is our fine forgiveness. So a lot of our students had, well, not a lot, but a good number of our students had fines on their records that were preventing them from using the library. So working with Catherine and I work with the city, and those fines will be forgiven just to make sure that we're eliminating that barrier to access, making sure that there's equitable access to our resources, and that when they're in the classroom, everyone is able to participate in activities and use our services. We wanted to Catherine kind of looked at patron records, kind of analyzed where the fines came from and who were holding these fines. And based on the age of the students, his records, it really wasn't their responsibility to maintain these fines on the cards. And we want to make sure that we get the students back into the library. So this is a huge step for us to encourage that.
Can I ask a question? Because I know you don't do fines on other people's books either, like you just kind of waste all, right?
We don't do late fees, but
Yeah.
we do replacement.
Right.
If someone doesn't bring the materials back, we do
Oh,
charge.
And that's what these were.
Because yeah, I never get
Mhm.
fined.
We do replacement charges.
Okay, so replacement fee, okay.
And the fines were San Rafael items. Marin County handles their own fine
Mhm.
forgiveness procedure. Engagement and access. So just a little bit of the picture here. That first picture is Mireya and a couple librarians from Marin County. Mireya works at our Pickle Beach Library. And center picture, Margaret, children's librarian. And to the far right is Lee and Devagi, who are at Davidson. Doing assemblies, class visits. One of our engagement strategies very early on, one of the things we learned from the past is that before we used to give library cards out towards the end of the school year, and then students spend the whole summer with very low engagement, so like it wasn't high usage. This year it's separate, so we wanted, or different, we wanted to make sure that it was in the beginning of the school year. And that way, teachers and library staff can engage on a longer term basis. And they're getting all the information through assemblies. So the school, there's a higher level of collaboration between principals, teacher librarians, teachers, in terms of coordinating assemblies and really distributing the information all at once. The other thing that we did is we created info sheets. So it's basically a one pager or a different one for TK through 5th. Really more instruction for parents, and then one for 6th through 12th grade, highlighting a lot of the resources that will help them on the day-to-day school, the homework help, brain fuse, streaming. The staff at the library created a video. So introducing our librarians, really introducing or showing the hours, and they work with the teacher librarians at 2 of the high schools to really put together a video, and that's what they're playing for the older students in class to kind of give them a heads up. And in terms of access, the info sheets are helping a lot. This like really the face-to-face work with the students is probably the best tool we have in terms of engagement. We're really highlighting access, how to get to our resources, what they can receive at the library themselves. But we also created a website. So Marin County has a website. We have our own, not a website, our own page with instructions on how to use the card, how to go online and download the app, and direct links to all of our services. So we're making sure that wherever they go with each of our member libraries, that they are receiving consistent information, and they're really clear on what or how to utilize their card. And then next steps for us is to continue programming. We're working with school district staff to really identify key programs that our children's librarian, our youth services team with Marin County could really help and support with those in those initiatives. And reaching out to Miller Creek. We're waiting to hear, I'm waiting to hear back from a Miller Creek rep to see how we can support getting cards out to them as well. And we just got our library cards today, and I completely forgot to bring one physical card to show you.
You posted a picture.
And I did post a picture.
Are there, so they're in every school in Sarasota?
Well, it's, I think I
Or
have,
just-
it's that, that's it.
That's cute.
Yeah, I was like, I know I have it somewhere. What's that?
So it's in every school in?
Every San Rafael City school, the district school, yes.
It's all, and all the.
Mhm. Yep.
And just curiosity with, what about the private schools? How is there a future collaboration with?
That's interesting that it's,
Or have they reached out? or-
we haven't, I don't, there hasn't been, we haven't reached out, and they haven't reached out to us as well. The bill doesn't include private or schools,
Mhm.
focusing more on public schools at the moment.
Mhm.
I know we do have a lot of site like a
They-
lot of visits.
They do a lot
library
of
visits?
site visits, so they bring their classes over story times.
They'll sign up. For if the kids don't have cars, they'll sign up when they get there.
On site.
Usually St. Rayfield, since they can kind of.
I know, I was thinking St. Rachel, but then you have the high school right there too, and, yeah, I don't know. Great work.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
impressive. You guys
staff
have
has
done
done
a
a great
lot.
job. Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a great collaboration too, because it's really helps
I mean, that
for reach.
SB 321, somebody was thinking.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unfunded mandates.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've gone to a couple sessions where the main question from other libraries is how the financial support for it, because it is a big lift for a lot of systems. And that's been really a bonus of belonging to a consortium and collaborating with their systems.
There's a lot of, go. There, like, sometimes, like, immigrant families, like, parents don't speak, fluent in English, but kids often, in being in school, they know a lot more and better communicators. And I was wondering if there's like a, remember, like, Lauderdale Elementary School has a Coffee Tuesday or something like that, that some of the parents stay at school for half an hour. They provide coffee and some pastries or something, and they Spanish speaking administration, like, explain things about something, what's going on at school. And there's such a, that's a kind of a good opportunity for maybe library staff go and introduce the parents. Like, there's a lot of library, museum visit you could have through the library card. And other services that they could have, and a lot of, foreign language books available everywhere.
We initiated that conversation. We were invited to a networking brunch at Davidson School the day of the tsunami warning, which was cut short. But our next,
Yeah.
we're meeting again to kind of get,
Yeah.
garner some ideas
Yeah.
like that. And our meetings
That'd be
next
great.
month, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the PTAs, I mean,
Right.
there's so many outreach that you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, Laura there, I think seems like a good, was a good school to candidates, and such a close by from downtown.
Right.
Yeah, there's several of them,
Daniel, I have a question about communication with the parents. Is
Mhm.
there on whatever communication that, I know the schools are sending it out, but sharing that the data won't be used in any certain way, won't be shared publicly? Is there communication?
Right,
on
so
that?
everyone received the opt-out form, information form, highlighting.
But
that.
opting in, meaning like you're not gonna share that, because I remember when there was like all these ICE issues and people having to share data, they were concerned libraries are gonna have to share their data with ICE, like I just, years ago, whenever that was, I remember that. So I'm just wondering, is there communication, like, we do not share any of this data with other,
Federal.
federal
Federal
government or government?
Right, so
agencies?
our standing policies for issuing a library card, those are the same policy that's communicated to the teachers we're collaborating with, who then share that with their students. So our policies stand the same in terms of sharing information or data.
How many people are opting out?
We don't know the number because the school receives that information and then we just don't get their data. Like their data is
Oh,
not
I see,
included
just,
in-
they don't say like there's 20 that did
Right.
that. 'Cause I just wonder if any of the opt-outs are because there's concern from parents that their
Yeah.
data is going to be.
I'm sure we could
share.
get that. I'm sure we could get that number of like what percentage of students or families are opting out. But we never received that information in the data transfer. So
Yeah, that's the only reason I would think majority people are
Mhm.
concerned is like share
yeah.
the data sharing.
Oh, absolutely.
In that way. And then would you mind sharing the one sheet that you sent to like
not at all.
the K through 5 and the 6? I would love to see
it's
what those resources are.
Mhm.
And then lastly, who is Miller Creek School District rep not? You haven't, like, do you have a person or you? need a
I have a
person?
contact, but
Okay.
if you have someone else,
Okay, all right, we can
if
talk
you have someone,
after.
yeah,
Okay, that's good, thanks.
yeah, of course.
questions?
When we actually, my child received the library card, he already had a library card.
Mhm.
So it was like 10 years ago or 9 years ago before any of you. And we received the card, it came in the Friday pocket and I was like, why there's another library
Mhm.
card? Because we already have one. So I'm a little bit obsessively not trying to use another plastic that's gonna be toast.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there's a reason that some parents opt out because they already have a library card since,
We were pretty explicit in
yeah,
our communication that
Yeah.
both cards would work
yeah.
and that both numbers would be associated to the same
Each
person in
each
the
other.
record.
Oh, one record.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll have the same,
Same link, you know.
oh yeah,
So
it's all
one
linked
one
together.
account,
Even
but
when
two
using the
numbers.
student ID, it's
Yeah.
all the same record. They're just different ways of accessing it.
Oh, I see.
No, but it's the same.
Yeah, okay. I was like a little surprised, like.
No, yeah, I
oh,
know.
it's created by two different names on the.
Yeah. And the process is evolving and it's getting a lot more streamlined and,
Yeah.
and it's getting a lot better.
Yeah, somebody must have punched
Mhm.
every number,
Yeah.
names and by
That was the
hand.
past, yeah.
Other questions? I have a couple real quick ones, and this is my ignorance. When we say opt out, what does that mean? Does the child still get the cards, just information? They don't?
No, they don't.
Okay.
So if the parent opts out, then their data isn't forwarded to
At
us,
all,
so we won't
right.
create a record. for them.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that they don't already have a card.
Right, they
Right.
could. Got it. And I just wanted to say, I think it's smart to put the cards out at the first of the school year.
Mhm.
I think there's so much more opportunity to do engagement during the year rather than giving them out
Right,
at the
summer.
end.
Right.
I think that's very smart of you guys. That's all I have.
Mhm.
Thanks, Daniel.
Since there's no public attending, and we've responded to questions, or Daniel and Catherine responded to questions. I don't see anything else under this agenda item. We're ready to move on.
Just thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Other agenda items, so number 3 on our agenda. Review of the 2025 Board of Trustees work plan. The recommendation here is to review the draft work plan and provide input.
So I'll share my screen just so we have the work plan up. We've broken it down by month as in years past. And the goal is for this to be kind of a live document that'll work throughout the year and we can add anything that we deem important for that month or that meeting, or take some or rotate topics. And we started January, that's the easy one today. It's doing my card presentation and review of this work plan here. And would it work best if I go through and just kind of go for our reasoning through each topic each month? For February, we're gonna one of the agenda topics is going to be an introduction to our library policy review, which we're looking at all of our policies, our front-facing policies, our public-facing policies. And the goal is for us to, as we're updating them, bring them to this group for review. And then one of our presentations will be one of our staff presentations will be a panel discussion that are Alejandra from Pickleweed and Lee from both Pickleweed and Downtown. Their proposal to present at a conference in March was accepted. So we thought it would be a good idea for them to present that same, give that same presentation here a month before. And that conference that they'll be attending is the Creando Enlaces conference in San Diego. It's one day in San Diego, one day in Tijuana at both universities. And then for March, new library programs presentations. We're developing new programs and launching them out throughout this next 6 months to a year. So I think it'd just be good for us to give you an overview of what we're doing. And then as well as provide an update on our library structure, which I believe was presented here.
Yeah, so I think about a year ago, we kind of presented that we were gonna be working with Jane Light and kind of interviewing staff around things that are working and not working, things we wanna kind of address moving forward through our structure. We are currently holding a number of vacancies in the library. I mean, part of the reason we have not filled those is because we wanted to do this kind of evaluation of our structure, making sure we have the positions we want in the right, kind of focused on the right areas. And also because we closed the downtown library and the pop-up space needed fewer staff. So by March, we will expect to be starting to hire and starting to fill. So we wanted to kind of present, to you all what that structure is gonna be looking like.
And then for April, we hope to present a plan for Pickle Wheat, the Pickle Wheat branch closure. Just kind of highlight some of our plans to continue service and what our goal is for maintaining some of the library presence in the community through programs and maintaining our hold pickup. And then as well as for April, as well as or showing kind of what our refreshed onboarding plan is for the library, and our training plan for bringing on new employees and providing a little bit more structured refresher trainings for existing staff. And then May, the downtown reopening plan. Hoping to kind of really show what our goals are for coming back up here and getting back into the fold of working and providing service in a renovated building. And then this will also be one of our first like policy review days where we'll present one of a policy or one of the plan is. There's some bigger policies that'll take some more discussion or time to really put together. So it could be that we discuss one policy or we could discuss a couple of the smaller ones, just depending on the timing. For June, we'll present our summer reading plan for this summer. And then we will discuss what happens with our library services in North Marin, North Cape. In July, we go dark. And then in August, we thought it would be a good idea to do a site visit at the downtown branch up here. Just kind of see and go through all the renovations and hopefully by August, we'll have a good idea of how the space is working for the new structure space is working for us. And then September, we'll go over citywide goals and objectives.
Yeah, just to kind of jump in on that, the city is, we don't do our goals and objectives every year. The last goals and objectives were on a 2-year cycle, and now we're developing kind of a 3-year goals and objectives plan for the citywide. So we thought it'd be good to kind of provide that information to the group and share how the library and recreation department rolls into the broader citywide goals and objectives. And that goes along with the budget, which the budget happens in July. September's a little bit late, but with wanting to, we thought the downtown site visit might be more fun than
September, we'll also present another policy review segment with another policy. And then we'll also present our collection development plan and update to that policy, which will have to be reviewed with the Freedom to Read Act that was passed. There's a couple more requirements to our collection development plan that we'll be updating and we'll present it in September. October, it's our plan to provide a Measure P update.
That timing is loose.
Yeah.
The big project, we know that sometime in this next year, we will want to be talking about Measure P, definitely with this group. Exact date still to be
Yeah.
determined.
That's why it's draft.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And then November, we'll go over the library data that we submit to the California State Library. A lot of our statistics. We'll present those in November. And selection of the chair, vice chair. And go over our schedule for 2026. And then, of course, as every year, December start.
What is policy and procedures?
It was I think it was a process that I hadn't done before with policy review. It was very collaborative. We invited all of our staff to contribute to our policies. Really leaning into the experience of our staff. A lot of our temp staff work at different libraries. They have ideas from other libraries of what would work in our system. So Catherine and I really encouraged that feedback and that input.
I think, we do have a number of established policies that have been reviewed over the years. Some of which are more recent, some of which are a little bit older. But one of the things that we heard through the interviews with Jane Light and kind of just the work we've been doing, looking at how are we operating. One of the things we heard from staff is that they wanted this, they wanted to kind of, things are changing in libraries post-pandemic. What the needs of the community, the activities we're seeing. There's just a lot changing in the world and we need to reflect that in our policies and we heard that from staff. And so, we figured that's one of the big projects Daniel's working on right now and this
Like
year.
one example, I'm just a little bit, the policy, just like it's so broad.
You want like just an
So
example?
one example of
Sure,
something there,
so-
somebody.
Our library code, like our guidelines for library use, or most libraries refer to them as code of conduct.
Mhm.
To really look at those and look at them through one of the benefits, as Catherine mentioned, is that they're being looked at through different lenses. In terms of how how people view library service, and if any of those things that we're right now saying don't do, like to look at what that means for our library space. Another unattended child policy.
Oh,
It's something that, like, for example, Pickle Weeds feels really strongly about that policy, updating it, looking at it, identifying the age and the parameters for unattended children in the library. So that's another one that we're looking at. So it's things like that.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Another thing, I just had an idea, it would be maybe a staff presentation on what the library is doing to support the city's 150th anniversary. So it was technically 2024, but we're celebrating in 2025, so
Making sure we complete it.
yeah, we can get through the year. So there will be a lot coming through the city in terms of kind of acknowledging in different ways we're celebrating that. And the library and a lot of our staff are kind of working on some fun historical programming and supporting that work.
The questions on Daniel's presentation.
Or other things you'd like to see added to the plot.
I have a couple of things for Daniel. So, when does Pickleweed actually close? Because it's not gonna. The plan for closure is April, but is it actually gonna close in April?
Probably July.
July, okay.
Our plan is to make sure we need downtown to
Yeah.
be reopened. And at this point, I think it'll probably be July.
Okay, that's what I wanted really to ask.
Yeah.
We'd have one library open.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
Right.
One of these two libraries, I should say.
Yeah.
Open. And the other thing is, Catherine, you indicated that we might have a couple, or we do have a couple of staff positions that aren't currently filled. Are those budgeted by the city? In other words, once you identify how you want to proceed, you could go ahead and hire. Good.
Yeah, they're in our budget. They're approved. We just need to make sure they're the classifications we want them in.
That's all I have. Daniel, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. Is there any opportunity for like having small, because I know our Borough Community Center has some like rooms that art classes and things like that, and could one of those rooms can be converted to pop-up books, library for during the closure for kids around there? Because not everybody have a car to drive over downtown to use it.
Right, one of the
But,
things we're looking
yeah.
at is maintaining hold pickups at
Yeah.
Alboro
Okay,
through
okay,
lockers.
okay. Yeah,
But you know, I think one of the things
Mm.
in terms of space and using
Yeah.
up rooms, I think it's something we have to evaluate and just really,
Yeah,
usage is
building
high
is-
Yeah.
for Alboro and the rec
Yes.
programming, so
Yeah.
I don't know how viable that would be to really
Yeah.
take up that much space.
Yeah.
But we are looking at what service we can sustain there.
I wonder if Bahia Vista School is not far from the Arboro. I wonder if the school will allow some way during the summertime. I don't know if there's any programs during the summer, but.
Well, we're gonna be, for programs, we're gonna be looking at options for the
Oh,
park, the
oh,
community center. I think it's more just like if we were to try
More-
and take
yeah.
one room out of use and like put a
Yeah,
collection
yeah,
there
yeah.
would be difficult, but for sure programming and I know
Right.
Amanda has been talking to other, like
Okay.
Canal Alliance, and
Oh,
we
I
go
see.
out into the community and do some stuff more outreach based, so that'll be
Be nice.
the
Yeah,
plan.
of course, you guys are already talking to that, of course.
Well, we even were thinking like, oh, in the holes locker, could we have like a little collection, but the space just doesn't
Yeah,
quite
spaces.
work, but we're, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking brainstorming.
I haven't seen Canal Alliance's new space. Is there a lot of like?
It looks
oh,
like it's
yeah,
big,
it
I've only
looks
seen
like
the
it's pretty
outside. Lots of good parking.
Yeah.
If there are no other comments from the board, and it doesn't appear that there are any of the public available or here. Is there a motion that we need to do on this or anything other than accept the report? Yeah. We don't need to do, it says here, call the roll, but I don't see that we need to go that formal on this particular item. Such then, we are on item number 4, staff liaison report, which is our other brief program updates, reports on any meetings, conferences, and or seminars attended by staff.
Sure.
Anything to report,
Yeah.
Daniel?
So we've got one cool little fact is this in 2024, Marinet wide exceeded over 1 million checkouts on Overdrive. So on Libby platform, which is huge. I think it was over 1 million.
I think
it's a
we hit it
lot,
on
and
like
it's-
December 30th or 31st,
Yeah.
something like that. It was.
So that's pretty exciting for a lot of our team that really help put those services together, highlighting those services. And let's see, another report is, as I mentioned a little bit in the presentation, is Creando Enlaces is a conference that's held in March at the University of San Diego, and then at the University in Tijuana. Our team is presenting on diverse book clubs that act bilingual book clubs and what their strategy is to maintain engagement and to bring those type of coordinated efforts for literacy to different communities. And they'll be presenting on the day 1 of the conference, which is in San Diego. And the theme is really the duality of services, both in Spanish, English, but also culturally and community-based in terms of how you identify demographics to serve. And I've been to that conference in the past. It's probably one of the better conferences in terms of on the ground, grassroots creating, developing, implementing. And I'm very excited. Staff from Central have yet to attend one of these conferences. So I'm very excited for them to really learn from other people, but collaborate and create partnerships, because I've held some of those partnerships with other libraries in Tijuana in terms of like reusing our donations, sending some of our discards to other libraries that we could really use our material or discarded material. So I'm excited for our team.
Sounds like a
It'll be
great
nice to hear.
opportunity.
And it's a free conference. It's sponsored by the California State Library.
Share a little bit about I'm just thinking, to Jamie's comment about kind of concern around data sharing, around the work you're doing. The newcomers,
Oh, that's right.
that could even be a presentation
Yeah,
later in the year.
I can do, so in November, I attended a convening with the Immigrant Rights and Justice Department with the county. 49 or 50 agencies got together to really discuss service to or plan for service to our immigrant and bilingual communities in Marin, with the focus of the current climate post-election, really focusing on those services and how to really target a strategy that helps distribute information, collect information in terms of resources. So that group broke out into three smaller work groups. The work group that I'm assigned to, and we meet regularly, we meet monthly with a bunch of agencies throughout the county. We're tasked with making sure that we develop a way to hold information and about resources and services in one place that's easy to access, that is maintained regularly. The urgency is really high for this type of work right now. And our work groups are shifting a little bit. So we just had a meeting this week where the focus is going to change, because the demand for resources, demand for help, is growing. There's a lot of fear, and there's the focus for some of the groups is shifting. So that's a lot of our work is going to be in protecting the data and protecting information, but also making sure that that doesn't mask the need for resources. So that's one of the task force that we're meeting. We meet monthly. We have a weekly check-in, so that agencies can really highlight what problems they're facing or what they're seeing. And then that's when other agencies like ours can jump in and say, well, we have this, and this where we can help. And my goal is really to help, I really identify where we can place the library, like where our services can be, can better meet the community in specific issues.
So is it like Department of Social Services? Is it?
It's through the Immigrant Rights and Justice Department, like organization. And they put together this convening, and it's a full day, 50 agencies, close to I think 100 people.
All the agencies in Marin. I mean, I'm just.
Almost.
Kind of,
So
it's of course, but
yeah.
like charities, I'm just kind of curious which.
So the
ones.
schools were there,
Okay.
Canal Alliance, Legal Aid, a lot of smaller legal help clinics. And it was great because we were like able to talk, and other organizations were able to like really be blunt and say, we're at capacity, we can't take anymore. And I think one of the main focus is to really highlight those things, that your organizations are doing great service, they're at capacity, and it's good to know, it's good for us we distribute information, right? People who come to the library, their problems don't usually originate at the library. We're there to help them solve the problem they're walking in with. So it's important for us to know as well who not to refer to, even though this agency could be doing great work. They may not be able to help them in that moment, is really having a resource to identify which organization can at that moment, because it's important to maintain that trust. Word of mouth is important for Spanish speaking community. So if they're sent to the library and we're not able to help them, that kind of breaks that trust a little bit and us as a resource. So one of my priorities is to really make sure that that information is correct, that we're sending people to the right places so that they keep coming back, so that we float to the top of their list of resources that they can count on.
That's a lot what I did as a social worker. You gotta know
Right.
the resources, you gotta know the availability, what they access, who they're servicing, you know, whether it's healthcare or
Right.
social services.
And engagement starts with programs and resources that stem from a place of trust, an organization of trust. And a good example of that is the Canal Alliance. Like a lot of what they throw out and programs that they launch stick because there's that level of trust.
I'll follow up on Mary Kyle's question regarding pickleweed. How long again do we think pickleweed will be out of service? I'm just thinking that this is gonna be a critical year perhaps in terms of being able to have a place where people, particularly from the canal, can go or can be directed locally where they can just walk over to deal with maybe some of these issues, depending on what
Right.
you as a group decide. And I just wanted to clarify how
So I
long.
just started thinking about that. So I
Okay.
brought in Alejandra, who supervises pickleweed, into the fold with this group. She's not an active participant on every meeting like I am, but she is going to be sitting in a lot of the meetings to get some of that information. And really just being kind of aware of what exists out there in terms of service and communication, where those sources of information are coming from most importantly. But yeah, I'm slowly bringing in pickleweed staff into the fold on this, and seeing how we can kind of distribute that work.
And some of that might be, you know, I do think we will probably be closed for 6 to 8 months.
Okay,
And, you know, I think when we're looking at what services we're able to continue to provide, I mean, we have been talking about like, you know, office hours. There's an extra desk that we could have Alejandra or Maria or one of our other kind of trusted library staff members has regular hours at the community center. Maybe some more targeted outreach, regular outreach, like going out into the neighborhood, things like that, so.
yeah, and I'm sure your conference down in San Diego, this.
I
you're gonna have a
I
whole-
anticipate there's gonna be a large, it's gonna be a large team, yeah.
Suddenly a new agenda item.
But one, then just kind of some other updates, staff updates for the Pickleweed project, that's kind of we're chugging along on the construction documents with that, we're kind of just waiting for the architects to have those wrapped up probably by the end of this month, so we'll submit for permits. We are also getting ready to release a call for applications, I believe, I'm calling it, to get a local art group on board to design the mural for the children's rooms. So we'll hopefully generate some interest in that and get someone to work with the kids to actually develop the mural. The downtown project's chugging away. I think we're probably realistically looking at like a July reopening at this point. So fingers crossed. But you know, they've done a lot of the demo and just, so they kind of know what's in there. And there's been a lot of hazmat abatement that wasn't expected, some electrical things we're realizing aren't actually gonna work with the systems we have in place. So it's definitely a complicated project with a lot of things now that we're in there that we're seeing, like, we've got to make some changes and some decisions, but overall, it's coming together, and we can kind of, they started framing the new walls that are going up, and it's looking good. So, we had our MarinNet board annual retreat at Belvedere Tiburon Library the
Mhm.
day of the tsunami warning.
Oh, yeah.
So we got through the like first session where we were doing kind of like
Mm.
more of the get to know you activities before getting into the real like strategic planning work. And so we didn't get to the strategic planning work before we all were like, we shouldn't be in Belvedere Tiburon, like, let's go, we gotta get to our facilities and see what's going on. So hopefully more to come on. I think we're hopefully rescheduling that conversation for February. And then Measure P, no big updates on that yet. We are scheduling times for staff to go and view some of the other new library and community center facilities in the Bay Area, just to start getting ideas, talking to them about their processes they use for developing their facilities and getting some inspiration. So we're gonna be going to South San Francisco. They opened a brand new, very large library community center and council chambers. We're gonna be going to Menlo Park. They have a brand new library and community center they just opened. Palo Alto has a kind of smaller library and community, it's like one of their branch library community centers. Those are the three main joint facilities, and then also it's just starting to look around at some of the really nice community centers and nice standalone libraries. Cause those you can get inspiration from those too.
Exciting.
So, yeah, doing that, getting some ideas before we really start kicking off the process, which, yeah, we'll more to come on that for sure.
So, Catherine, just, it might be fun to kind of join you.
You know, I
There's
think
a
we're,
possibility,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
we're
might
gonna
be kind of
go,
fun to go see.
scheduling them is
Yeah.
a bit challenging, and I think there will be time for that. I think we'll go see them, and then later down the road, there will be,
I've
This
heard
is
about
gonna
one of
be a
those, I think it was
long
Menlo Park, and it has a native plant garden, and it's supposed to be beautiful.
I don't know,
I
we'll
think it's
find
the-
out.
I think it is the Menlo. With those two mixed up.
Burlingame also has a very nice new community center with like a living roof on part of it,
Oh.
so I don't know if that.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, I had thought about that, but I also thought like, well, it'd be good for us to check them out before. Like trying to organize a really large, 'cause
Mhm.
they're not close, like Menlo Park is not.
I
close.
know, it's hard.
So, yeah, and I'm, you know, my suspicion is that we will develop a, like an advisory committee that will have representation from the library board, from the Park and Rec Commission, from various community groups,
Mhm.
and that we would probably wanna make sure we do something, some stuff like that with that group, so, yeah.
That's good. You know, just kind of off the side, when you were saying donation, that, you know, giving away some of your excess books and that. I just heard that the Pacific Palisades Library burned down.
Mhm.
Did you hear that?
It did.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It's too early, but it's devastation.
Right.
With everything else that they're going. I
In
don't
the
know if
past,
there's-
there's been calls out from the American Library Association, and I anticipate the California Library Association. Down the line, we'll probably put a call out for whatever they view a good way of assisting.
People will all chip in. and help.
Probably, yeah.
Hmm.
Any other questions for staff on presentation? Being that there is no public present, we will move on to commissioner reports. Anybody attending any meetings, conferences, seminars? On board, anybody want to comment?
There's one coming up at your Novato library that I'm gonna attend,
Mhm.
and it's the Master Gardeners, and it's the
Oh.
annual seed exchange and plant exchange, and yeah, with this wonderful, I think it's on some 25th or something, one of the weekends.
And we're in conversation to bring Master Gardener programming back to Southfield. Library as well.
Good, good, good.
This is not a meeting, but it made me think about old things and the fires. Sorry, my head's just going. Is there an opportunity to work with the Red Cross and provide some programming on escape plans, to go materials for families.
You know, our
Or
office.
what's that other person who does it?
Quinn.
Quinn? Yeah,
Yeah, she does a lot, that her department, the Office of Emergency Management, does a lot of that type of stuff.
yeah.
I mean, we could
Maybe we
definitely
could do
do
one
something
to the
in
library.
partnership. Yeah, I mean, that would be super easy. They do that all the time and just to do it in the
That'd
library.
be great to,
Yeah.
to have that. I mean, I know you partner already, but to put that out there as a partnership.
Sure.
Well, and I think that, we have a marketing network through our library cards that can only be used for library programs.
Yeah.
That we could utilize for if it was posted in the library, that might be different from the methods they use to publicize their activities, so.
And I can speak from my experience I'm on the local HOA board out in East San Rafael, and we've met several times with Quinn and her staff. She has 2 staff people now under her, and they have some great material. And I think this is a great time. This is an opportune time to remind people that there is this danger out there and the steps they can take. So, yes, Quinn will have a lot of that material, go bags, checklists on things. We have one where they gave us, stickers where, once you evacuate your home, you put a sticker on the door so the fire department knows that you're out, so they don't have to check, simple things like that. But they have those, that information available, and we try to do it with our HOA with little groups so that everybody's aware, particularly older people. We want to know who they are, what their needs are, so if a situation like this fire happens, we'll know to look for them first. I'm sorry, I know this gets into way more detail than we're talking about here, but yeah, Quinn's the person to, and if you need somebody there, let me know. We've.
I have all my go bags. I'm a Red Crosser. I have all this stuff ready, but I would love, like you said, we have an audience, we have people that you can connect.
Well, and we'll
Sure.
hopefully have space
Yeah.
soon that I would imagine that could draw a pretty large
Right.
audience. We'll make sure you've got appropriate space for it.
I just want to say, I've heard just positive things about the little pop-up that we've got here on 4th Street. And I think there are some things there that people are trying that we should think about in terms of planning for the new library. Just things, the way things are set and set up, and yeah, I just think there's a lot of people realize that it doesn't have to be this old library. It can be open, it can be,
And that's smart.
yeah.
I
So,
saw a group
thank you.
of women playing
Yeah.
bridge, playing
Yeah.
cards,
Oh,
people are
yeah.
using the
Space.
yeah, the board
Board
games
are-
and stuff.
board games are getting
That's
hot a
okay.
lot.
Which I mean, we had those at the.
Yeah, they were.
we used them.
Yeah.
It's so convenient. It really is.
We
Every
have
time
people
I
saying
can
like,
pull
oh,
up-
why don't you keep this open and open and
Yeah.
operate that? It's like. Just have them in every neighborhood.
A lot of people coming and eat lunch there too, at the entryway. So I saw a couple eating.
You do?
You have to be tidy and
Yeah.
can't make a mess.
Could be more on the snack side.
Yeah.
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 We odors are a thing like that. We can talk all about it when Danielle brings the
That's right.
Yeah.
all right, any of the other commissioners have comments they want to make at this point? All right, then I'll close item number 5. And with that, I'll move to adjourn. It is 7:02 right now. So thank you all. Jinder, thank
Hi,
you
Jinder.
as usual.